Welcome, everyone. It's good to see so many people first thing in the morning interested in engaging underserved communities. Should we get a feel for who's in the audience first?
Sure, absolutely.
What underserved communities are represented here?
Skateboarders.
Yeah.
Nice.
Skateboarders. Who else?
Inner city children, targeting.
What city?
Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Wow. Welcome to Portland.
Immigrants and refugees. What?
Low-income families.
Great. We're going to give you a little spiel, and then we're counting on you to make it a participatory thing. Why don't you take it away?
Cool. My name is Sahar, and I'm the volunteer and training coordinator at the Immigrant and Refugee Community Organization, also known as ARCO. And like the gentleman in the front mentioned, so we primarily work with immigrants and refugees. We served over 31,000 community members last year, but we also do have programs that just serve the community as a whole, or the mainstream community as we call it. We have over 200 programs, many of which are culturally and linguistically specific, so that we're meeting people where they are and, tackling issues in a way that would make sense for our community members. We have programs for every life stage, everything from early childhood development, home visitations. We have after-school programs at 18 different schools around the city with the SUN program, which is Schools Uniting Neighborhoods. It's a citywide program. We have English language classes, job coaching, career development, food pantries, senior services, where one of our most important community groups are actually our senior immigrants and refugees, as they are the ones that are usually the most isolated, so making sure that we have programs for them so they can have a place where they feel comfortable and meet other individuals and stay active. So yeah, we try to address every need that's out there, and 80% of our staff were actually 80% immigrants and refugees ourselves. So when we say we're a community-based organization, we really mean it. A lot of our staff have gone through the same challenges and obstacles that a lot of our clients are going to, hence why we have 200 programs. Yeah, would you like to maybe introduce yourself as well, and then we can talk about that?
First intro and then more
Yeah,
about the things.
so folks know who we are.
And I'm Nili, Yosha. I'm with Outside the Frame, an organization that I founded to make homeless and marginalized youth the directors of their own films and the directors of their own lives. So we teach them how to make films, get them widely seen, and have a good time. I like to have a good time while making the world a better place. That's the intro. Okay, back to you.
Nice. Yeah, so we have a few programs that are specifically focused on engaging underserved communities. For example, we have an African Youth Leadership Council, and we have African youth that get together and they are able to go testify at the Capitol in Salem. They learn leadership skills, learn how to be there for their community. We have a program called Engage, where it's open to staff, clients, the community as a whole, but it is for people of color, and it's 6 months of training on the weekends to learn how to be a community organizer, how to be, engaged in local issues, again, also how to learn how to testify for your community and things like that. A big challenge for us currently, which I'm sure you're all aware of, with the housing crisis in Portland and the way the prices are just skyrocketing, our clients or community members are just moving further and further out because they can not afford to live in Portland. And so that has become really challenging, especially when folks don't have a way to travel into Portland, so reaching folks further out as they are being moved out to make sure that they are getting our services. So that's a huge area that's been a big struggle for us. Yeah, and also just making sure that we are hearing the community. So every 3 years, we have an event called the Community Needs Assessment, or CNA. We just had our last one this past June, and we have 300 to 400 individuals from every single community that we serve that come in, and we congregate for an entire day, and folks get into their specific communities, and we talk about what needs are out there, what's working, what's not working, what's missing, what could be done better, and we then create a report on that, which you all can get access to if you wish. I'll leave a bunch of my cards at the end to see like what the biggest issues are out there. And a lot of times, a lot of folks obviously talk about housing, language barriers, not knowing what services are out there for them, not knowing what services they actually are have access to. A lot of our folks don't even know how the healthcare industry works and things like that. So we are always looking for new and better ideas of how we can help our community members in accessing all the services out there that would make it as easy as possible for them.
That's amazing. So, like comprehensive and thorough. You know, that's,
Thank you.
you don't usually get one or the other. With your permission, I'm going to show you. Let's start. I like to show and then tell. I'll show you a quick trailer for one of our films, and then that'll do a lot of the explaining for me. So this is a trailer for The Lost Boys of Portlandia. It's a documentary that we produced that shows kind of the genesis of the program and how it works. It's a 25-minute documentary, which part of what we also do screenings in the community. We would love to screen it for you. Welcome our board president, Erin Yankee from KEPW.
Take me away, yeah. Just lead the
Peter Pan is a very traditional fairy tale about lost children who have to run away from their homes because they get abandoned, or they get abandoned for being who they are, so they run away to this place where they can be themselves. And and I think that's really what the streets are about.
Certainly proud of you. Blockheads.
Peter Pan and the Lost Boys are not these like idyllic characters, they're sad.
They recognize their need for a leader and their desire for a mother, whatever that is.
Is there any sort of like Peter Pan where they don't go back home?
I think that giving somebody a creative outlet gives them the opportunity to learn how to, exist.
Thank you. So there are a lot of homeless youth in America and in Portland specifically, and I came here and was kind of shocked by the amounts, and I got a job at a social service agency downtown, and they said, we have 3 years of funding, do whatever you want. I thought, how do I engage a group of transient youth with a variety of skills and interests who don't have any tolerance for exercises in futility, and neither do I. How do I engage them in something that matters, and more importantly, in something that will show everybody else what I see, which is that everything they think about them is wrong. These are hardworking, smart, creative, industrious kids that we would all be proud to have as our own, and they just need a little push, as we all did. What can I do to engage them? Films. It's the best way. All of us that would be out on the streets if we didn't have filmmaking as a respectable avenue do it, right? So film is the most fringe that you can be and still be on the inside. Let's teach them these skills and get their stories out there. The best way to open a person's mind is one-on-one human engagement. But film is really the next best thing. Encompasses all the arts in them. It's so collaborative. You learn, and the youth learn soft and technical job skills without even noticing. And then they have something for their creative reel. They have something for their resume. But most importantly, they got something out. I've had youth tell me, I was able to make a film about my time on the streets. I knew that there would be somebody to bear witness, and that allowed me to close that chapter and move on. So it's also therapeutic intervention, creative outlet, and so it works. There are a lot of agencies in Portland, more than in other places, that provide those basic life-saving needs to the youth. Food, shelter, case managers, those kind of the basic rungs of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which they desperately need, but to survive. But to thrive, you need a little more than that. And so we come in with the tip of the pyramid with this creative expression, and together there's the complete package, And so it also serves as a gateway drug, because there are a lot of programs out there to civilize the youth, and have them funnel them into low-wage jobs to compete with their much more well-supported peers, or go to college. It's very hard to be a first-generation college student living on the street. So this program gives them a success, and then to be able to we also get them widely seen. So then to show your film to an audience, have a standing ovation of 500 people at your, first screening, it gives you a backbone that then nothing can shake. So they have this huge success, and then they're like, all right, let's go finish that GED, or I'll apply for those jobs. It helps move them to the next steps, because as you all know, the creative fields are magic like that. They affect everyone that's involved. A little bit about our organization, how it actually works. We have 3 main programs. We have our kind of intensive filmmaking workshops. Usually they're about 3 weeks long. They're intensive to be able to, one, mimic how film works, and to capture a transient population at once and have momentum. They get paid for their work. We bring in all the equipment. They learn how to use it, and we bring in professional filmmakers from the area so that they have living examples of mentors, so that they can see a future. Whoa, if this wacky grown-up that kind of looks like me, but in the future can make a living filming, then maybe I can too. We bring in professional filmmakers to help them, writers, cinematographers, audio people, help them along the process. And at the end of 3 weeks, they have filmed their movies as a group. We just went along doing that for a while, but the kids get turned on, and we can't just leave them hanging, after they get so invested. So now we have year-round programming, weekly workshops where they can hone their technical skills and work on other smaller projects. And then outreach, because it's not enough for justice to be done, it must be seen to be done, right? We show the films. We have one big kind of annual screening a year where we show what we've done in the past year. And then throughout the year, we do screenings in the community. I think we've done 15 already in 2018. We've shown it from middle schools to graduate school, juvenile detention, social activist group like Sisters of the Road Cafe and Social Justice Action Center, youth groups, high schools, anyone that wants to hear directly from youth experiencing these issues. And of course, the youth facilitate the discussions, they curate the films based on the group that they're going to see, and people love it. And we're expanding. We're not just keeping the youth siloed and working only with themselves and on their own issues. This spring, we've partnered with Portland Public Schools. They asked us to come and teach an alternative high school of Alliance at Benson. So to have like kids who have experienced homelessness teach at-risk youth in alternative settings how to make media, and to make a documentary about their project-based learning. It's very exciting that they can recognize that these youth have a unique ability to relate to their students and bring out the best in them. And they're seeing the same results that we see, that the kids that are the most peripheral get drawn in and shine when given a camera suddenly instead of a textbook, you know? And so we're going to continue working with Portland Public Schools. The Portland Art Museum has asked us to create content for them because they're doing a show about homelessness, and I'm so thrilled that they recognize that these youth are the best ones to conduct interviews with elder homeless people. And so then we have this intergenerational project going on, and more is coming. So we're very happy to just, to keep growing, and the youth grow with us. The project alums that want to stay engaged become peer mentors, so that it's kind of like junior counselors. They get paid. All the youth that work with us get paid. That's very important. You want youth to show up, give them stipends, and give them food. The rest will happen. They get paid to do the outreach presentations. They get paid when they're production, when they come work on productions with us. We also send them to get trained in peer mental health support, which is a burgeoning field in mental health services, because the establishment has kind of recognized that you need an intermediary between the patient and the doctor. You need somebody with shared lived experience to help you along. That's it.
Thank you. That's it.
No big word.
I mean, it's like 200
yes.
programs in multiple languages.
Oh. I actually also, if you don't mind, have a very short video. It's just one. Oop, nope. Well, we could watch it. That's wonderful. It's just one of our client stories, just so you get an idea of what I have been talking about.
While she pulls that up, that's another thing that we do, is make media for other organizations. So if you need somebody to create content in that authentic way, give us a call.
Cool.
One thing I remember was the light switch. How easy it was to turn lights on and off. At the refugee camp, we had to use kerosene and fire. I mean, the first time I set in myself up, I feel so good. Every time, I would stand up and sit down, stand up and sit down, just to feel the same way. It was kind of squeezy. My name is Kaustula. I'm from Nepal and I'm 16 years old. I am in 10th grade at Decolonize High School in Southeast Portland. His father was a lawyer like Atticus, only much younger. It's hard to believe I could not speak English at all just 5 years ago. Because Scarlett is his little sister. When I get older, I want to earn a good living and take care of my parents, because they have taken such good care of me. I know my dad since now. He and my mom are from the town. They had a farm and they lost everything.
Boston Dara, Kubra, Humur.
In Bhutan, the government forced people from Nepal, people who spoke Nepali language, to move out.
अब त पुग्दैन जान सक्दैन भने मायामा बिर्सेर सक्दैन जान पाउन ठुलो फार्ममा जमाउनु सक्दैन जान
And so I was born at the refugee camp in Nepal. Until we came to America, the refugee camp was home. As far as I remember, everything I asked, I wanted to my mom and my dad, like they always gave me, like even though like they didn't have anything, they always like had, they gave me like whatever they had. My dad, like he worked so hard for me and my sisters, and my mom like would stay at home, like working for us, like cooking every day, I don't know what my family would have done without IRCO. IRCO helped us find an apartment, even give us pots and hands to help get our life started.
Who studies English every day? Okay?
IRCO taught English lessons for my dad and my older sister. And then IRCO helped both of them find jobs. Till breath is pain. Patient, breathe and have some. They gave me a mentor who helps me. Sometimes we even go out and do fun things too. Today it does not seem so lonely. At school, a group of Nepali students meet once a week after school to speak our language and help each other with homework. Still, it hasn't been easy. Learning English, figuring out transportation, and the high cost of living, my family still struggles every day. When my dad was laid off from his job, my older sister had to quit school and start working to help me rent. I went to DO veterinary at IRCO, and he helped us get rental assistance from IRCO.
If the people came up with a small problem, they go to IRCO. If they lose their job, if they lay off from their work, they go to IRCO. It's very, very difficult to describe what happened if there is no IRCO.
I'm so grateful for IRCO and grateful for the United States and my teachers.
I just feel like that's what America is. People coming from all over the world and learning a common language and bringing pieces of their cultures and their religions together. That's what the United States is. That's what America is. And so I see them all as Americans from other places that are going to work together and learn to be Americans. And that's a big part of what I do, but that's also a big part of what IRCO does.
When high school is over, I want to go on to college. I hope to win a scholarship. I will never forget everything IRCO has done for my family, and when I'm adult, I want to help others just as IRCO has helped us. So I won't stop until I have achieved my big dream. I want to become a doctor.
Yeah, so I wanted to talk a little bit about, I don't know how to turn that off, sorry. I wanted to talk a little bit about trauma as well as fear. So as you saw with Kauzila, she was born at a refugee camp. So let me backtrack a little bit. So are everyone familiar with the refugee resettlement process? To a T, no. So being resettled as a refugee is a very, very long, comprehensive process. You have to go through the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. Homeland Security will look at every single detail. You have so many checks run on you to see if you're even eligible, and at some point, this can, by the way, take anywhere from like 6 months to a year and a half or 2 years while you're waiting. And then once you are given the decision that it's a go and you are told like which country you go to, so there are organizations that are resettlement agencies. They're also called VOLAGs, and here in Portland, that's Catholic Charities, Lutheran Services, and SOAR. And so these are the folks that work with the US government, and they are the folks that pick up the refugees at the airport and provide them like their first housing that's furnished. And then after that, folks come to IRCO, and we're more or less like the second point of contact, and then we do intakes to see what their English language skills are, what their job skills are, and we try to get folks a job as soon as possible. If their English is not as great as it could be for a well-paying job, we try to get that up to speed as soon as possible. And the reason for that is, so a lot of folks don't realize that refugees have to pay back those plane tickets for coming here. It's not just like a free thing. So imagine if, I mean, I can barely pay for long trip tickets. So imagine if you're a family of 6. So 6 plane tickets. Not only that, you also have to pay back the money that was spent on all the furnishings in your home. And so the US government does provide a very small stipend to refugee families as they're settling here to help them out, but that ends right after 8 months. So within 8 months, we have to help refugees be able to pay back those plane tickets, pay back the furnishings in their home, and make enough so that they can start paying pay their rent by themselves, and then also purchase, utilities, and then purchase food and everything else that is needed. If any of you all have ever looked for a job, you know how hard it can be to get a well-paying job. So imagine even if you don't have any of those connections in the community, or your English is not, fully fluent. So it is really, really tricky. And if your English is not that great, unfortunately, you end up in a minimum wage job. So it's a lot of pressure on our refugee families. And so also just thinking about the trauma that a lot of our refugees might have gone through. They could have been fleeing war, famine, genocide, any of those things, or you could have spent years in a refugee camp. And refugee camps, obviously they're doing the best that they can, but also, you don't have any type of formal education system over there. A lot of times it would just be like a room like this, and you have kids from the age of 6 to 18 all in one room, just like trying to learn basic things. It's not like fully scheduled school system and things like that. And so we really are expecting a lot from refugees when they come here, whether it's the parents to be able to find a job, but also youth to just, fit in at school and just be able to imagine if you're a teenager, you're going to be going to college pretty soon. And so getting up to speed with the US education system that fast, it really does take its toll. And so also thinking about trauma, if you have had, really bad experiences coming here, even the journey as a refugee, like I said, you could have been waiting 1.5 years, 2 years just to be able to leave a place. It takes a lot out of a person. And, trauma, like studies show, it messes with your memory skills, motor skills, being able to learn things. And so it's really hard for our refugee community members to, drop in 8th grade and just, be able to pick up everything, or start working 5 days a week, 9 to 5. And so what we do at schools, but also talk with employers that work with us, is really being more patient and more flexible, not thinking that, not thinking that folks are just being lazy or not trying hard enough or things like that. It really, really is a struggle. And we've had clients that, you would look and they are young and able-bodied, but they say, I can't work. Like they just physically cannot work the 5 days a week, 9 to 5, because all that trauma has really taken a toll on them, and so that's a lot of stress on their bodies. And so sometimes they can only work 3-4 hours a week, and seeing, if employers are flexible with that, or if they're not, not expecting them to finish training for a job in the same time that someone from Portland would take them to do. So, patience and flexibility is really, really needed for folks that are hiring our refugees. And then in schools, this is why the SUN programs are really important. It is really hard because kids are just placed in the grade level where they belong, depending on their age. And so if you're 16 or 17, being able to catch up, to be ready to go to college is a lot. And so not only that, but also, new place, you don't know anyone, you're probably getting bullied or don't have friends or things like that. So the SUM programs are extremely, extremely important. We help with homework, we have tutors, and also they do community building activities just so they create this community, because being new in a school is really hard for anybody. And so we've just seen some amazing results with that, where kids will have a group Snapchat account so that in the summer when school's out, they'll still video themselves, this is what I'm doing, what are you doing, I miss you, and things like that. When I speak to our volunteers, they talk about how they have watched kids go from a 2.0 GPA in 1 year to a 4.0 in the next year, just by helping them along after school and on weekends and encouraging them and building that support system. So we're always looking for mentors, especially in cool industries that a lot of our kids might not even think could be a possibility, like in media or entertainment and things like that. Just having a solid adult mentor can mean the world to our youth, and it's a very flexible volunteer position. You might be meeting your youth client once a month, and you just hang out and you can help them with building a resume or writing a cover letter, or just encouraging them to take these classes, or looking at trainings outside of school and things like that, so that they can see I can do this and I can become I can get the same job as my mentor and things like that. So mentors are really, really important for our youth as well. And just that whole community building is extremely important, especially in Portland. It is a predominantly white city, and so a lot of our community members just don't feel like they have a community here. So it can be very tricky. So just making sure that they feel welcome and they feel like there's a support system out there. On April 3rd, it was started in the UK, but it also gained traction here in the US. There was a Punish a Muslim Day, where there were flyers circulating saying there was a point system on what kind of act of violence you would show a Muslim and how many points you would gain for that. 50 points for punching a Muslim, 100 points for kick. Anyways, and so our schools that we work with saw about 80% of our clients honestly did not go to school that day or the day after and things like that, and they were terrified. We've just seen such a rise in hate crimes and folks being bullied. I mean, we saw the Max stabbing that happened and things like that. So all of that has to be navigated as well, and thinking about if you've also brought along all that trauma with you, and then you don't feel welcome or safe in your new community. So it is really difficult, and we're always looking for supporters to make sure that our communities are feeling welcome here and that they know they have allies in the community.
I took the group to see an exhibit at the Portland Art Museum, portraits of refugees, and they left one horrified at the injustices that occur in the world, but they were like, homeless schmomeless, dude, we have it so good. I think both organizations make real impact. It's not a bigger Band-Aid, more shelter beds. No, it's like they get people on their feet, and us as well. Small but mighty, real change, you know. Want to see one more video before we turn it over to questions? One more quick news clip. Come on, KGW.
Commanding the attention of a classroom full of teenagers is anything but easy.
One of the best things about being a visual artist is you get to be incognito, right?
So why is this working? What you're watching is teens teaching teens. The students go to Alliance High School at Benson, an alternative program in Portland Public Schools. The instructors are here via Outside the Frame, a nonprofit that teaches homeless kids the ins and outs of video production.
And it's really cool to like teach people how to do these things that I'm passionate about.
Meaning the kids teaching are or were recently homeless. Learning video production has helped them find jobs and get back into school.
Now I'm able to like go to the places that helped me out when I needed it and like pay it forward.
And now they're passing on their love of the craft via a budding partnership between Alliance High and Outside the Frame. It's a project-based learning curriculum, and it's the brainchild of a teacher who wanted to see her kids passionate about one thing for an entire semester.
So they're more likely to be able to stick it out and not lose interest, even though it might be very challenging and be lots of steps, but they're willing to do it because they're invested because it's their project.
And this could have easily been just the pipe dream of a wacky art teacher, but luckily she found us and we immediately saw the potential.
Ethan Shoemaker has already started his documentary. It's about graffiti in Portland.
I'm doing all these different things like scouting locations and going to this class outside of school and learning all these camera techniques and like crazy awesome things.
Awesome things that kids who had a tough time in regular classrooms are able to try. And it's thanks to another group who knows what it's like to struggle.
Seeing someone like who came from that situation, like teaching you these things, like I feel like it's helpful for them because it gives them hope.
This is such a cool story and such a cool night. By the way, if you're wondering, that partnership was approved by the district through an outside grant. The superintendent just stopped me to say thanks so much for spotlighting us. They're so proud of these programs. So the art show and the documentary shoot are both underway here again at the Pear Gallery in Northwest 6th and Flanders. This party is going till late, so stop on by.
That was awesome.
Thanks. You can see the result of that on May 24th at the Hollywood Theater. We'll screen both the documentary about the collaboration and the film that the young man is talking about. What do you got?
I came late, so I don't so much have a question as a related issue and a question for everybody. I'm with KEPW in Eugene, Oregon. We're a low-power radio station that really just got going pretty recently. And we were approached recently by the Eugene Emeralds, who are one of the 33 minor league teams who have taken on a Spanish name and mascot for 6 of their home games this year. And they approached us about broadcasting the games in Spanish, in part as a way to signal to the Latino community, like, it's safe for you to come out to the ball game, and here you are being officially broadcast, in your language, on the air. And it's caused some, there's disagreements within the group, the more hard news types are like, it's enough we have music, right? But baseball, and that's corporate content, and so on. So we're looking for a way to compromise, just carry some of the games or split our stream and our broadcast. But I'd love to hear from anybody, any helpful thoughts or anything about that as a way to support, immigrant communities.
one of our youth said at a presentation the other day, we presented to film students at Pacific University, and they asked the panelists what films they want to see made. And one of our program alums said, at first when I started, she was talking about books. When I started reading books, I was going for escapism. Now that I've managed to escape my situation, now I'm looking for relatability. So you have a vision. Don't listen to the naysayers. They're always going to be there. Just plow ahead. It's so basic, you know, to just see yourself.
Just want to give a plug also that Arco also has our international language bank that's right next to us. And so if you're ever looking for interpretation or translation that's in various languages, they're a great resource. They have, I think, over like 130 languages. So while Portland is predominantly white, like we do have a very diverse communities here. We have a lot of Eastern Europeans, we have Vietnamese folks, Nepali, Somali. So if you're ever in need of those, yes.
Are there any local native languages included in that?
I am not sure, but let's talk and I can find out for you. Yeah.
And of course, KEPW, that's been around for 50 years, has shows in different languages. They're an excellent resource.
So a couple of things that I think many community media centers struggle with is the perception that, well, we offer all of our services on a non-discriminatory basis. Everybody's welcome. The door's open. Y'all come in. And I think that as my work on inclusiveness and equity and cultural literacy, you know, has progressed, I've recognized that saying the door is open, you're welcome is not necessarily an invitation. You know, so what kinds of resources are available that you know of, either online, that type of thing, for organizations who are trying to expand their cultural competence in dealing with underserved cultural, and I mean cultural in the very broadest sense of the term, not just native origin, but you know, LGBTQ and you know, the whole gamut of cultural competency. Are there resources available that you can direct us to help with that?
If Muhammad won't come to the mountain comes to Muhammad. You have to meet people where they're at first. Get them, have your representatives go to the communities that you're trying to engage, teach a class, get their appetite going, and then take them by the hand into your facilities. That's what we do with the youth. We have a deal with both Open Signal and Metro East Community Media where they get trained by us, but they then become kind of automatically certified to check out equipment at the two facilities. Their work is broadcast on those facilities. They have scholarships or free classes that they can then take. They get part of our workshop includes a tour at the end of the facilities. They has to be a warm handoff. We call, we help navigate. We cover, right now as it stands, when you check out equipment, as a producer, you're liable for it. And so our insurance covers our youth for a set amount of time. Just kind of working through those logistics.
Yeah, I agree, and it's, I believe going to communities is really, really important because a lot of us just might feel, just either not invited, or it just seems, it's not for me, or, oh, it's so flashy, or, oh, it's just for the mainstream community and things like that. So meeting people where they are. Yeah. Good resources. I mean, IRCO, we're always looking. We have employment services. So if you ever are looking to hire more immigrants and refugees, you can always contact us. Apano for Asian and Pacific Islander communities, NAYA for Native Americans, WorkSource are great. Even contacting DHS, things like that are really great resources. Like, doing lunch and learns and just meeting folks at their communities or at their centers is really, really great. And another thing that I was talking about recently with a group of folks, which I think is really important, we were talking about how don't ever hire one of something. Because it can be very isolating and very, just being, at my last job, I think I was the only Middle Easterner, and I left because I was just surrounded by people that were not like me, and it can feel very lonely, and you don't want to be that one token diverse person, whether it's LGBTQ or, an immigrant or a person of color. So if you're looking to diversify your team, please don't just hire one of a community, because it can be very lonely.
And train your crew not to give people the runaround, but to actually help them solve whatever issue they're, not to just pass the buck.
Portland does have some services like Educateya and things that help you. Like, how do we approach the Latin American community and get them interested? Like, there are services, but in Portland, it's like by group, basically.
I'm from Olympia, Washington,
Yeah.
so.
I know.
And the reason I ask is I've been involved in a cohort program on intercultural foundations that the YWCA is offering, and it certainly has, my eyes have been opened in a lot of ways. I think we individually have our self-perception of, and then when you kind of really dig. So I guess that's what I was asking is for that training piece for staff and board and organization, do you know of, and I know of this in my community, but are there programs similar to that can help organizations who do not currently have strong outreach to marginalized communities to understand what it means to do that?
Yes. Actually, one of the speakers that was going to be here today, I'm very familiar with the organization and have taken trainings with them. Resolutions Northwest are absolutely amazing. Highly, highly recommend them. You can hire them to be basically a consultant for your organization. They can see where you stand when it comes to equity and help folks, make it better. And actually, they really look into like what even is your mission statement, and is everything written on paper, and are all staff aware of what your values are, what your mission is, and things like that. Resolutions Northwest are amazing.
And we're, of course, available for presentations, workshops, or full, like short or long workshops at your respective communities. We love to travel.
I just wanted to speak to this further to the question you raised about one thing that I've heard and tried to do a lot is to focus on it as a matter of building relationships, building human relationships. So not coming in with the preset idea, even necessarily of offering a service, like maybe that's not the service they need, but like going into meetings that the community themselves have and learning what's important to them and asking them, how you can help or work together. For some communities, so this is up for me because I literally last night, or Thursday night in Eugene, we had a Decolonizing Our Activism workshop that Sweetwater Nanak from Idaho, Washington came down and led. Amazing. Yeah, and we're really, I think she's going to come back and do some more, which is great. And that's a lot of what she talked about, and that for some communities, even the stuff that we may take for granted of, come to a meeting and this is our organization, what it does, all of that is kind of a little alienating. And coming instead with hey, my name's John, nice to meet you. Like, what do you do for fun? Yeah.
Yes, Sweetwater, Decolonizing Your Activism is an amazing training.
And we got to interview her. It'll be on KEPW. I don't know when it'll be on again, but it'll be on again.
Awesome, yeah. And Resolutions Northwest talks about this a lot as well. You have to start very basic sometimes. especially like in the nonprofit world, if we're like working on one cause, we kind of assume that all of our staff are probably on board with everything and like, oh, of course everyone knows about this and that, but that really may not be the case, and your staff might just be focused on one single issue. And so, you know, we're the immigrant and refugee community organization. I've had folks come in and introduce pronouns to a lot of our staff because they were not even aware of the concept. So we can't just enforce like, okay, we're an LGBTQ friendly organization and everyone tell everyone your pronouns. That would be doing a disservice because we would just be enforcing something without educating on our staff on why is it important, what do the studies show, and you know, just actually introducing it, starting at the very, very basic level and then moving up.
Yeah, there's no shortcuts with this education thing.
It's ironic that the board development session is happening right now.
I wish we're here. It's being recorded, right?
No, the homeless students, I know in Kalamazoo, there's a lot of homelessness, but they don't stay long. It's like they're like in and out. What is the population you're working with? Are they students who are just in the area, they're not leaving? How do you connect with them and how do they stay involved?
We're lucky that there are a lot of services here, and so a lot of people come here. There's kind of nowhere further to, it's the last line, right? And because there are a lot of agencies that serve the youth, we recruit from there, knowing it's a lot easier for us to do our job knowing that they have someone that's feeding them and they have a case manager. There's additional supports, and so we go in through the existing agencies. And a lot of youth don't stay in cities where there's not enough services or where they're only criminalized and stigmatized and not also taken care of.
So you go to the agencies and then you say, we have this program, if anybody wants to get involved, and then they come to you.
Yeah, and so we host our programming at these agencies, again, with the concept of meet people where they're at. And we're outgrowing that and hope to get our own space in the next year as well. But you still have to kind of work both angles because there's always new kids coming in, right? So we have our peer mentors, the program alums that have graduated. They go into the different agencies and let the youth know about the program and how they get involved. And that works a lot better for them to have, you know, somebody that they can relate to, recruit.
Really?
Have you run into any capacity issues with how many youth you can support?
We definitely have more work on our plate than we can do. It doesn't stop us from doing it. But the cohorts are usually about 12 people, and that it's self-selecting. When we do like a short-term paid internship, that's about the amount that come and stay, and that's a perfect number.
Because you're just one Nili, after all.
We have another staff member and lots of contractors and volunteers, and if you are interested in working with us, we will put you to work. We're definitely grown beyond what just I can do. That would be doing a disservice to everyone.
Would you come down to Eugene to help get us started?
Of course. We're going to Everett, Washington. Somebody called us from a homeless youth serving organization there, and they're like, how do we make films with the youth? I was like, we could talk about it in theory, but why don't we run one for you and kind of go from there. So that's the best way to do it, but we can tailor it to your needs.
How long have you guys been around, your organization?
As our own organization since 2015. The project has been in existence since 2009, and so it became its own separate spin-off show in 2015.
I can testify to some of the students, like, I'm forgetting his name now.
It's okay, don't.
That they're so, like, some of the people that come, like, I'm trying to think, the first guy that came and did a rap for us, like, went outside the frame, did our holiday showcase thing. Like, doesn't he have a job now working with like an education job or something like that? Like, I can't remember.
Even better, he moved back to his hometown and started his own nonprofit in Klamath Falls, Washington, serving. And he said, I get the same thrill out of mentoring youth that I used to out of gangbanging. Like, you just need to redirect. I just had a youth tell me yesterday that you have to go to the edges to get noticed. They were in foster care, they were abused, they were starved. So they set a Walmart on fire to get taken out, taken out to jail, unfortunately. But like, youth resort to desperate measures because there's not systems in place for them, and then we blame them for it. Mm-hmm. It's silly.
Do you do follow-ups and film of the success stories of students?
Yes. Yeah, and we're tracking like their employment and their education and different things over time. Yes, is the short answer.
So how do you approach people in the field? Because like I grew up kind of like with skateboarders, and it's kind of a counterculture movement, like living on the street, maybe, I don't know. And we skateboarders are not really open to outsiders coming in. It's like a locals thing, and like, who are you? So it seems like kind of a tough approach out in the field.
Like I said, we go to where they come to eat and hang out already, and persistence, we'll put a flyer down and introduce ourselves to every single person at the table, at the drop-in, eating lunch, and be like, hey, here's what we're doing. Do you want to know more? If no, no, and if yes, we keep talking. And but like, get paid to learn how to use professional gear and make your own movie. It's an easy sell. You have to not be afraid, even if you are. Don't
show it.
Yeah. And don't take anything personally. These kids have a lot going on. It has nothing to do with you. So if they don't want to talk to you, it's because they don't. And momentum. You start, the kids are having fun, they tell their friends, it grows and builds fast, So consistency is like the key. We're here every Friday, from this time to this time, and if you build it, they will come, kind of thing.
How much do you I struggle with this a lot with our youth, is like the flaky factor is always there, and like, how much do you think, like, if somebody doesn't show up a bunch and you're relying on them or something, how do you approach that conversation with them? If it happens, I don't know if it happens with you. I know it happens to us, but.
In filmmaking, you always have to have many contingency plans, right? For your gear, for your location, for your everything. If you really need them to show up, then go pick them up. But have high expectations, right? When we recruit them, we're like, treat this like a job. You have to show up on time. You have to let us know ahead of time if you're not going to show up. And if they don't, then calling them on it in a gentle way, not to scare them, but to let them know that that's not cool. And I've had people say that they're very grateful for holding them accountable, but not chewing them out. Mm-hmm. They've had enough of that. If tough love worked, our world would look a lot differently. But always have a few backup plans.
I think, what you were saying about like not taking things personally is really, really important, even with our youth or even our adults. Like, sometimes they'll miss job interviews or not show up at work, and so we keep thinking of the trauma and maybe addressing it in a loving, caring manner and seeing if there's something else there, and just thinking more outside of the very strict Western way of like, this starts at this time and ends at this time and you have to be here, and thinking more outside of that and seeing like, if we can kind of be more malleable and see what our clients would prefer, and if there's like a deeper issue there or anything that we can help with.
Yeah, find out from people what their preferred method of communication. Is it texting? Is it calling? Is it emailing? Do it the day before, do it the day of. I've had a youth not show up and because they didn't set their alarm, and I was like, okay, if you did that on a job, nobody would ever call you back again. So I'm glad you did it with us. Don't do it again, you know? And that's it. Don't make a big deal out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, do the youth in your program create media as well?
I believe we've had one or two groups come and do that with some of them, but we were talking earlier that we're going to talk after this.
Stay tuned.
Yes. But yeah. And yeah, we love it when actually we get various organizations that come and bring their skills, specific skills to us. Like we have Adidas and Nike volunteers that come and do sports-related activities with you. So we're all about that if you all ever have anything in mind.
And that speaks to your question from earlier. You don't have to know how to do everything. You just have to be open to finding the people that do and bringing them in to do it.
Any other questions?
If you want to stay informed of our activities, so here's our website, and you can see some of the films that they've made. You can see our different partners. You can donate. You can sign up for our newsletter and be the first to know about our activities, sign up to work with us, peruse our press, website.
Very cool. And I guess I should, yes, sorry.
No, so do you have a favorite that one of your students or your students created, a favorite video or film?
I love all my babies.
I was gonna say.
I like your guys' move, what is it? Move on to where? The one that you did for Measure 26 was pretty awesome.
And it's up for an award, for a Best of the Northwest award this evening.
That was a good one. That was like so pithy. Like there's this part where this kid's like, it's like, I have a job. Why am I homeless? Just like in your face.
Is that one right there?
You're probably talking about this one.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Okay. There was an affordable housing bond up for a vote in Portland last year. We called the organizers and I was like, hey, do you want a movie made from the perspective of the youth that are going to benefit from it? And they were like, thank you, but no thank you. I was like, free movie, hello. They're like, we don't expect anyone to vote against this bond, but we don't want to give them any reason not to. And homeless youth, they don't have the best reputation. We're going to stick to seniors and veterans. And I was like, guys, we're going to make a movie. Do you want to see it? It's a minute and a half.
Yeah, can we see it?
So I have a question. Is it outsidetheframe.org?
Sorry.
I'm sorry. Is it outsidetheframe.org?
Yes.
Thank you.
OTF.
No, we have both domains.
Okay.
I tracked down the person that had outsidetheframe.org and he gave it to us.
Yes. And speaking of Measure 26, I don't know how many folks here are actually from Portland, but being involved in local issues and local elections is extremely important. And so, keeping that in mind, and also if you know of any immigrants out there that are naturalized citizens, we now have an immigration legal services program that is helping folks, adjust their status, and also we want to make sure that folks are registered to vote. Just the other day, our attorney in residence was saying just in East Portland, not Gresham, Troutdale, just in East Portland, there's 4,000 naturalized citizens that have not registered to vote. So get involved in local politics.
So this was made when we first started the weekly workshops, we would start with a check-in and they would talk about how hard it was to find an affordable place to live. And so this came out of that. And then the next movie that they made, they turned the camera. So this one is they're interviewing themselves. The next film, The Right to Rest Not Arrest, which is up for an award tonight. They turned it on to, they did it for Sisters of the Road Cafe and the Western Regional Advocacy Project. Mostly it's a way to you take your personal struggles and you make them into art. It makes everyone feel good to get plugged into something that's bigger than yourself, even if it's hopeless causes. Those are our favorite.
This land is your land.
On November 8th, Portland will vote on Measure 26179, the Affordable Housing Bond.
I'm your son. Your son, your brother, that well-intentioned oddball in the family. I was raised with the idea that the American dream is that everybody gets a fair chance, and all you have to do is put in the work. If it costs more to live somewhere than I make in a month, that's not very close to the American dream at all.
Young people need affordable housing too.
I pay taxes. I'm homeless. Like, it's not fair. And like, I really want to change the status quo of it's not fair and that's okay. Like, it's not okay. I was homeless when I was in middle school. Like, this is not something that I did. It's not something my mom did. It's just like a systemic problem.
Since it took me so long to work my way out of homelessness, I wanted some sense of security that it wouldn't happen to me again. In about 3 months' time, they're going to change the property into a commercial rental only space, and I am getting evicted.
The homelessness issue that I keep hearing people complain about is just going to keep getting worse. You're still not going to know what's going on with that. White people are outside up front of their $2,000 studio.
Brought to you by Outside the Frame. OTFPDX.org.
Oh, that was awesome.
And last thing is whatever population you're working with, let them speak for themselves.
Mhm.
Nobody wants to hear from the staff.
Absolutely, yes.
Well, get one interview from the staff, but let the people speak for themselves. That's
absolutely. Yeah, have the communities be at the forefront of their causes and just support. Thank you.